Welcome back to Let's Laugh About It podcast.
This is Jackie the VA solo, weird background going on, but I'm just popping in because I'm editing right now. And unfortunately, since Zoe is in Arizona visiting her grandma, which she'll tell you all about, the Wi-Fi just isn't as great as we have here in SD. So you'll find sometimes that the video glitches a little. The audio is perfect. The video is still even honestly totally fine. But we didn't want you guys to be watching this on either Spotify or YouTube and thinking to yourselves, the Let's Laugh About It team is full of a bunch of dumbasses. We just didn't want that for you. We didn't want that for us. We wanted to acknowledge our fault and that the video glitches a little. I'm obviously kidding in the way I'm saying that, but we did just want to clarify with you guys. The video's a little off, but it's okay. It doesn't really affect anything at all. Maybe you wouldn't have even noticed, but Jackie the VA just wants to do her job right. So here I am. So I hope you guys enjoy this video, this podcast video, whatever, whichever way you're watching it. And I know you guys are going to miss me a lot, but Zoe does a really great job of talking about making returns into returning customers. We love it. So, and I don't know if you guys can tell, but I'm trying really hard to make sure that I look into the camera instead of here. I don't know how I did. We'll see, because I'm not going to refilm this. But I hope you guys love this podcast. Bye.
We're in a little bit of a different scene today because I am traveling I'm in Arizona right now. I don't know if you guys know, but home base is actually San Diego. And, but it's my grandma just celebrated her 80th birthday, so I wanted to come down and spend some time with her. And my mom is coming up, so just some family time, but didn't want to miss a recording, but the scenery is a little bit different this week. So today I have a topic. Oh, by the way, let's just talk about the elephant in the room. You guys are gonna miss Jackie the VA today. I'm so sorry. She just isn't with me in Arizona right now. So I know you guys come here to see Jackie the VA, hear Jackie the VA. She is the talent. So I just need to throw that out there. I'm really sorry she's not here today. She'll be back, I promise. But go ahead and comment on the Instagrams and tell Jackie you miss her, because we need to feed her ego. We need to feed her ego. But anyways, we're going to jump right into it. This week we have a topic of returns actually, and there's so much to talk about with business and returns, but maybe about a month ago now, I was invited to speak at a returns summit. It was a return summit for talking about, literally the entire conference was talking about returns. And I got invited to speak about turning returns into returning customers, which was really cool. I got to speak after businesses. I was on stage right after Zappos, which is insane because Zappos is a company that I have looked up to. They have the former CEO wrote a book called Creating Happiness, I believe. I'll have Jackie link it in the show notes, but Zappos is a company that everyone looks up to for their customer experience and just I don't know, the overall business functions. And so I got to actually speak on a stage right after Zappos, which was insane. Lots of different businesses were there. It was a really cool summit, but this returns topic is very interesting because the mindset of a consumer now has shifted with kind of this return policy or warranty type shopping, where it's you want to be able to buy something with trust from the company, but the companies, while they want to instill that trust, they do lose money from some of these policies, especially if people are returning them, taking advantage of the systems, or just not realizing that this is a business function and people are being paid, and this there's just so many things to think about with returns now. So, but in the nature of Let's Laugh About It, we have to show some examples. There are plenty of examples of things we can laugh about with returns. So I have a couple, and for those who are listening, I'm showing videos on the screen, so if you want to watch this either on, you could watch it on Spotify actually with the video, or you can hop over to our YouTube channel. Look up Zoe Kahn, ZoeKahn. Let's laugh about it, and all of the videos are also there. But I'll try to, for people who are only listening, I will try to describe exactly what's going on in my best way possible. But I'm about to show a video. It's a TikTok from Frost Buddy, which is a company who sells cups and like all kinds of like just lots of different cups and containers and things. But he is talking about people scamming them through their return policy. So I'm going to play this video. I'll pause it when things need to be described.
People never talk about in small business the amount of returns that we get and the type of things people do return. Look at this. What in God's name is this? You bought a Frost
So the first
Buddy and you thought you could send
is it says it's like a, I don't know, it almost looks like an urn. It says, in loving memory, a life that aches or something others will go on forever. What does that say? A life that teaches others will go on forever, something. But it's someone submitted that they were going to return something from this company, and they returned this like crazy statue thing.
send us this back. Here's a nice Camelback. I don't remember selling this thing. I guess we partnered with Starbucks on this one. Someone sent this back to us. Don't even remember selling wine tumblers, but here they returned this for a koozie. At least I know they liked our bowl better because they sent back a different brand's bowl and kept ours. What on earth is this Slim that they sent back, but they wanted to keep the Universal? So you know what? Kudos to that customer. I bet we get over a dozen different returns a week that they kept our product and sent a random object or item in the package so that they could get their money back and still keep the product. Kind of wild, but something we don't talk about. People never.
Okay, so this is a good example of like, honestly, things about this podcast too, because it's just like those little things in business that happen and we don't talk about it, like he was saying. But the problem with this is, and I've seen this, and I have a couple of examples to share too, but basically it's customers reaching out to companies and wanting to return something, but then returning, like starting that return process, the company probably already like refunded them the money or whatever, and then when they get it back to the company unboxes it to figure out what to do with that product, and then they realize like something else was sent back. Obviously, this is a loss to the business, and I would like to hear like everyone's policies as they, if you're listening to this and you own a company, or if you work in the customer experience and you know the policies or anything, because this is something that businesses struggle to figure out, like what the best practices are for, or the best practices are for these things, because you want to give the most seamless, least amount of touch points for customers who really truly like aren't taking advantage of it, but are wanting a good experience from your company. I had an example in a previous job where a company or a customer, and this is just like one example. This happens like way too much. A customer they asked to return a protein, and we had, I would say, like on the higher end, like price-wise, higher quality protein, and this customer sent it back, and our process at the time was to, as soon as that we saw movement in the tracking information, and a lot of times we even like provided the tracking, the return label, which is very expensive for a company, by the way. So like, obviously shipping isn't cheap. The company pays to, like, depending on like if you spent money on shipping, but a lot of times the company pays money to ship the product. If you don't like it and you request a return label, then they're paying for that return label too, which is just another business expense that can add up very quickly. So in this example, we gave them the return label. We refunded them the full price once we saw movement in the tracking, so that they didn't have to wait for that money. So we had already refunded the customer, and we receive the item, and it is like the cheapest protein that you could get at like a convenience store. And so we had refunded them. They kept the original product and then returned like an empty bottle of another company's protein. It was like it was one of my like, it was early on in my e-com days where I was like, whoa, like people do this, like people have the guts to just send back another company's thing and then take the money. Insane. But there are companies, as you can see, like Frostbuddy, he had so many examples of things just like that. And then I wanted to share one more story before I have a kind of like this like presentation to show you guys. I heard from another company who has a very high average dollar value, and they found out that they have been dealing with this this fraud with returns, and they actually found like a forum that people share once they like find out that a company is like refunding and for whatever in the process where they can like fraudulently take advantage of that company. They share it in this forum and they encourage other people to take advantage of this return policy. So this company, they had found out, or this instance, they had found out that these products are like over $500 value. What these customers were doing was buying the product and then returning it, and they found out because USPS and UPS, they have like things to prevent these fraud things. So like if by weight, for example. So if a customer tries to return something and it's not in the weight that it's supposed to, it could get rejected or they won't send it out, or it'll get sent back to them. So the company it'll get like voided. So the company knows not to refund you. This instance, they found out that if they put the return label on a envelope that UPS or USPS, I think it's UPS, don't quote me on it because it also might be FedEx, one of the shipping carriers, they don't weigh envelopes because they don't need to weigh envelopes, but the scanning process still goes through, so they're able to scan it. And so this company was habitually refunding these customers' orders, and then who knows what the customers do with it. They sell it, keep it, whatever. But it was like this huge problem, and it's something that we have this like CX Discord. So if anyone works in e-com and is dealing with some of these things, feel free to shoot me over a DM I can send you a Discord that we're in. But some of these things happen, and when this stuff happens, it's always something, but it's kind of a community that you can go to and like ask for advice, or if someone else is seeing this. And that's actually where this person found the forum. Somebody in the community found this forum about like fraudulent returns and was able to send that to them. They found their company on that forum, and they were able to kind of just like keep an eye and like put a stop to some of these things, which is really cool to see from like our community that they were able to fix these things. But it's crazy with now the companies, consumers have this mentality of like their intent to buy is to also return, which is like horrible for the economy, like so bad, because it's just going to put companies, like if everyone had that mindset, it's going to continuously put companies out of business if it gets really bad. So also it kind of ruins it for everyone, where like you have a good return policy and companies can't keep up with these return policies because people are taking advantage of them. So I'm going to hop into, I have this presentation that there's also a couple things to laugh about here, because I can't make a presentation without having memes. So this is actually, I'm going to make my camera a little bit smaller or move it out of the way. Hopefully this is good. So this is my speech that I made for this return summit. It was really cool. I think it's just like a really good topic nowadays too, because it's very relevant to any business. But we talked about taking these returns and turning them into returning customers. Unfortunately, with those like fraudulent ones, there's not always a million things you can do to like fix that. But if you think about the majority of returns and the reasons for returns, you could actually have a lot of opportunity to not only like take those customers and turn them into returning customers and keep them, but you also have a huge opportunity to improve your products and improve your brand. So that's kind of what the premise of this is. I wanted to give some examples that are laughable, and a lot of people ask me what the difference between like bad customer experience is and great customer experience, and then there's like some in between. So I gave some examples. This one on the left, it's kind of like a bad CX to me. A customer experience is like always following the rules. I think that good CX, great CX, actually is they're profitable rule breakers, because there's always policies, but there's always ways to make, like, policies are there for a reason, but they're not always, like, if you continue to just like follow your policies to a T, I guarantee you're going to piss some people off, because like not everything is black and white and it doesn't fit in the box all the time. So this is something funny where, okay, so this picture, I'm going to try to describe it as best I can for like the people who are just listening. This was a customer, or the person did not get their package from Amazon, and Amazon asked them to show proof of them not getting the package. So it says Amazon talking about showing them proof I didn't get the package, and has that like mad emoji, and it's just a picture of their blank hand, or just like nothing in their hand. He's like showing I didn't get anything. So that's kind of funny. Some good customer experience. Funny thing about this little meme thing, we talk about this with Jackie. Me and Jackie talk about this, how I like don't know pop culture. I like was 99% sure that this girl was Emma Watson from Harry Potter, and then Jackie said it wasn't. I'm like I still look at this and I'm like, that's not Emma Watson? Who is this? It's some actress though. But I'm like, Jackie told me that and I was so embarrassed, because I'm pretty sure I've shown this meme to, I don't know, hundreds of people, and I'm like, here's Emma Watson, and that's her customer service persona, and then the real her. So whoever this is, I should look it up so that I don't keep saying the wrong thing, but it's a very nice face from a girl, and she's like got a thumbs up and she's smiling, and it says her customer service persona and then the real her, and it's like a monster. So it's basically just like showing that like good CX has kind persona, they're nice, whatever. But that's just like the bare minimum. To me, that's like, it should be like common sense that your customer experience is like nice to your customers. If you don't have that, you got problems. Then great CX. So this is an example of being able to win back customers from digging into reviews or returns or anything. This one's really funny. It's actually an Amazon review. It's a 1-star review, and it says missing letter. And there's a picture, and these are happy birthday balloons. And first of all, looking at the picture, there's so many problems here. Like, this customer unfortunately had problems putting together all the letters. So it says happy birthday, but each balloon is a separate letter. So it's up to the customer to like put it together. And the review says, absolutely gutted. I've just sat and blown up all the letters to find that the D is missing, but been replaced with an extra A. It's my daughter's birthday tomorrow, and now I won't be able to decorate it as planned. Not happy at all, angry emoji. And if you look closely at the picture, it says happy, but for the happy part, they use the D, but it's upside down, so it looks like a lowercase a, kinda. And then it says birthday. So like even the T and the H are backwards, so like that's just like a whole nother story. But then they have an extra A and no D in quotes. But what they did was turn that D upside down, thought it was an A. So they had everything, but it wasn't like the customer just like thought that it was wrong. So this is just like a funny example that go into, you search into your reviews and everything and kind of demonstrate like just a little bit of patience with some of these customers. You might be able to look at these things, figure out how you can prevent them and win the customer back, or at least create a better experience. Call this customer, reach out to this customer, tell them like nothing's missing, whatever. There's so many examples of this. Okay, so moving on to, these are 4 steps that you can do to retain your customers. One is determine the intent of the return. And if you're listening to this and you have like a company that has returns, I would suggest writing this down or coming to the video and taking a screenshot. But step 1, determine the intent of return. Step 2, cost analysis. So going through the cost of every little part of the return, like we were talking about. It costs money to send a product. It costs money to return a product. Do you want to charge a customer for the return label, or do you want to just give that? What's the risk here? Is a return solution really a solution? And what I mean by that is looking at some of those tech companies that might help manage some of the returns and kind of like take all that off of your team's plate. Is it a solution or is it a band-aid? And we can get more into that. Training your CX, training your team, I guess it's like it can be outside of CX, but training your team to be proactive and reactive and not just reactive. Step 4, create feedback loop and win backs. I'm going to go through those steps one more time because I'm not sure if I said step 3 before I said the step 3. Okay, so step 1, determine the intent of the return. Step 2, go through a cost analysis. Step 3, train your team to be proactive and reactive. And then step 4, create a feedback loop and win backs. So diving into this. So I actually had a really hard time coming up with this little chart because when you're determining the intent of return, so the reason why someone's returning, you want to like look at it like whether it's inevitable or preventable. So inevitable things, this is the part that I struggled with, like coming up with different inevitable reasons, because even some of these inevitable reasons, I feel like you can look through these and prevent them in one way or the other. So hold on, I want to make sure. Okay. Inevitable things might be like wrong size. You can't really prevent that. I think things you can put things to prevent some of them, like putting on a size chart or putting different pictures and videos and reviews on sizes, but it is kind of inevitable. If people don't use those things, they're going to get the wrong size. Everybody's body is different. Things like didn't like, everyone's preferences are different. Not everyone's going to like your product, so that's kind of inevitable. Purchasing with the intent of returning. Unfortunately, this is something we mentioned earlier, but unfortunately, this is something that is ingrained in our society now with all of those good return programs where people, I was thinking about like Macy's return, or no, it was Nordstrom's return policy. You could return something whenever you want. It might not be like this anymore, but it used to be. You can buy something and return it as long as they know that they've had that item in their store. You don't even need a receipt. So it's kind of crazy. Like people do that. They purchase an item with the intent of returning, or they'll purchase something and they know that they're only going to use it for the weekend, so they'll use it and then they'll bring it back and return it. These are things that people are doing now and like are ingrained in our society. Ordering the wrong item, that's inevitable. An adverse event. So an adverse event is something like an allergic reaction or an event to your product. This is something that you never want to happen, but it's everybody, like we said, everybody's body is different. And you don't know how customers are going to react because everybody's has different health issues and everything. So those are a list of inevitable. intents. And then there's preventable intents of return. So things like manufacturing issues. Manufacturing issues is a whole nother topic. If anyone's interested, I can like shoot me a DM or something. I can like go over kind of a good manufacturing process or issue logging process. But a manufacturer issue is something that we don't want it to ever happen, but it does happen. And if you don't have a good way to like look into these things and dig into them and solve the root issue, it can spiral into a big problem that's going to cost your company lots of money. And honestly, if you have too many of these manufacturing issues, it can cause a loss. You can lose trust from your customers because I mean, you think about sometimes if you've ever had a bad experience with a company, if you have an issue with the product, like you're never going to go back. A lot of times you might not go back to purchase again, and you might even tell your friends that this happened. So that's why it's important to have a good place, a safe place for your customers to go and report these things and be able to take these returns and turn it to returning customers. Preventable things like receiving the wrong item. These are things that should also be tracked and held accountable in your warehouse team or your 3PL because it is something that doesn't need to happen. It is always going to happen, but you can reduce the amount of times that you send out a misship or a wrong item. The item arrived damaged. This, I thought maybe it was an inevitable issue or intent of return, but actually, when you think more about the reasons why things get damaged, I would say like 90% of the time you can actually fix these damaged issues by making sure that the packaging that the item is coming in is like indestructible. So that's like one that if you keep getting these damaged complaints, you might want to look into the packaging. Misleading advertisement. So this one is think it's preventable because if your advertising is misleading, so a customer, for example, you'll say like, buy this product and lose 30 pounds in 2 weeks or something crazy. I'm making this up, but if your advertising shows a customer that they're going to have this result in this amount of time, or this product is going to do this for you, and if you know that it's not going to, or it's a very low chance of actually doing what's advertised, you're going to have a high percentage of returns. And that's like the worst thing for the retention. If your goal is to have if you want a long-lasting brand that's around for a long time, retention of these customers should be very, very important to you. And advertisement that might be that might sell because it's very how would you call it? It's very like tempting, or it is just misleading, or a customer buys it thinking one thing and you keep doing this over and over again, you're going to lose the trust of your customers, and they're not going to want to shop with you again, and they're going to tell their friends not to shop with you either. So I think misleading advertisement, the advertising you're putting out there just for like some quick sales or to acquire some customers, you just should be very mindful of your advertising and how it makes your customers feel. Okay, moving on to step 2 is the cost analysis. So wrapping up step 1, once you figure out these intents of returns, you should just go in and like look at the top, and I might have a slide for this, but you want to look at all those intents and like dig into every single reason and intent and see if there's like things you can change about your company to improve your products, your brand, your experience. And then you want to go through a cost analysis. Run a cost analysis to determine whether you should handle these returns in-house or use a third-party solution. So this is what we were talking about before, where it's like, is a return solution really a solution? So, and I'll explain that a little bit further. Things like, but going into cost analysis, when we're talking about return solutions, a lot of companies opt into using a return solution to lessen the load on their team. So this is like something like an AI or a tech that customers can go into onto your website and like basically just return a product without talking to a person, which is very efficient. It's like a very efficient process that you can use to take a load off your team. They do cost money, so I put some stats on here to consider before using a third-party solution, because sometimes if you don't consider all of these things that come into account of returns, you actually might be losing money by using a third-party solution. It all depends on like this cost analysis. So things to consider: average order value of the returns, lifetime value of customers who reach out to your company. This is interesting because the whole theme of this is turning returns into returning customers. So if you look at the lifetime value of the customers who reach out to your company, and especially for returns, you can look and see like, do those customers spend more money than someone who might return something through a return solution, or maybe that don't return an item. I always think about the customers who actually don't go through the bother of returning an item, but they just don't come back to shop, because that happens quite a bit. If you have a bad product, or maybe not a bad product, but like one that's like not, people don't love, maybe they're not going to return it, but maybe they're not coming back to shop for it, shop for something else. You want to look at the percentage of returns compared to sales. This is something you want to track to make sure that there's no spikes for any reason. This like returns percentage should stay pretty steady. If it spikes up, or I guess, yeah, if it spikes up, you're going to want to dig into like what happened. What is happening? Is it slowly inclining? Take a look at those things. Cost of goods, obviously, you want to make sure that your everything is making a profit and the margins are good. Direct costs, so things like employee wages. This is important when you're considering these return solutions, because if your return solution costs more than your employee wages, then is it worth it? And then operational costs. So these are all the costs going into like the tech that you use, even just like some of those things that we talked about, like return labels. Is your customer paying for that, or is your company paying for that? But basically, you want to take all these stats, throw them into a spreadsheet, look at all these costs, and then determine what the best way to go about returns is. I'm a little bit biased. I have worked for a lot of like CPG and food companies where returns, in my opinion, should almost never happen. You should almost, they are going to happen, but I live in La La Land, and I am going to always like strive to have as close to a 0% return policy or return rate as you can, because going back to the intent of those returns, if you dive into each of those issues, there's actually usually a solution for it. So for a consumable product, a lot of times it's hard for me personally to use a return solution, because it's taking the communication one step farther from your company. A lot of times when people are returning things, or especially like having issues with the products, and it's in front of the team, it's in front of your eyes, you're able to look at that and feel the emotions from the customer, understand that people are returning things, and you can look at the repeat issues firsthand, where if it goes through a return solution, it's getting taken away from you. If you do go through a return solution, I don't think there's anything wrong with it, but don't forget to dig into your data. The good thing about the return solutions is the data provided is actually really, really good usually, but a lot of times I see companies, they'll forget about it, they'll set it and forget it, and then they won't go dig into their return data, and then it spirals, unfortunately, into all kinds of issues of like not catching issues with the products, not listening to their customers, and taking that feedback and improving their products. So look at all these stats, think about your company, think about your goals, think about what you want for your customers, and make your decision from there. Okay, moving on. Step 3, training your team to be reactive and proactive. So each return request, in my opinion, is an opportunity to receive that valuable feedback about your business. Hold on, I need to pause and be like, just note that this is probably the most this is probably the most I've talked in a podcast myself. So I hope you guys are enjoying this. And if you're learning something or like this style, please let me know. It does take a lot of time and effort to put these things together so that it's like organized and anything. But if you guys like this style of podcasting and you're learning a lot, please let me know, because I will make an effort to do more podcasts like this. So just comment on something, write a review or anything when you're listening to this, and I take all your feedback and put it into consideration for improving the podcast and stuff. So moving on. Step 3 is training your team to be reactive and proactive. So a lot of teams in business I see are reactive. So meaning that the customers are coming in with these issues and they're just fixing them, which is great, but they're not doing anything to be proactive about preventing the next person who might have the same issue. Again, each return request is an opportunity to receive valuable feedback about your business. So that's why another reason why I'm like, just stay close to your returns, because if you stay close to them, you'll be able to take all that feedback and use it to improve your business. So reactively, the teams can save the sale. So let's say like a customer reaches out and they're confused, like that happy birthday example from the beginning. Like that customer might have wanted to return it, but if they had a person there to explain to them, actually you just like messed up the A and the D and like all the letters are there, you could save the sale. There is also an aspect of saving the sale and adding on to the sale. So there's, depending on the business, that could be an opportunity as well. But at the worst, you could lose the sale now, but provide an exceptional experience where the customer comes back in the future, or they tell their friends about like maybe that product didn't work out for them, but it would work out with a friend. As long as they have a good experience, there's no reason why they wouldn't share it with a friend. But proactively, like we said, you can prevent a future return. So going into those intents, digging into them, seeing how you can prevent them in the future and prevent future returns. And then most importantly, relaying all this feedback to use for product development. So the feedback from these returns shouldn't stop where like at the ticket, or it shouldn't stop at the customer experience team. It should all be analyzed and brought back to whoever's doing product development, whether it's like a product and development team or if it's the founder of your company. All this information is really, really important. And I promise you, your team, although it might be scary if you don't have a feedback loop process for this, like your team, your company really values this information. So bring it back to the team. Okay, moving on, segueing, step 4, you want to create feedback loops and win backs. So that's that whole thing of like taking all this information and creating a feedback loop. Figure out who needs to hear this information, who's going to take it and act on it. In a perfect world, like I said, we want a 0% return rate. But however, we don't live in La La Land, even though I really like to. Ensure your team has the tools to properly log and gather information to share to the broader team. So a lot of times your customer experience teams, unfortunately, people hire, especially like in a new business, a small business, you might not have the funds to hire a customer experience team who has a lot of experience doing these things. So it is kind of on us, or it's on you or whoever the leaders are in your business to ensure that your team has the proper tools to do this. So again, if anyone wants me to go deeper into kind of like logging processes and feedback loops and everything, I could do a whole nother podcast on it. But basically you need to have proper processes to share with your team so that they can do this entire process. Another thing is empowering your team to share the feedback. So as a customer experience team, it is really intimidating to share this information because a lot of times it is negative and that's scary to share. Like, you don't want to break it to the founder that the people keep returning their products, because it is hard to accept that, like, not everyone likes your product. But you have to take emotions away from, like, your products and them being your baby, and empower your team to share this feedback, because if you don't empower them, they're going to be scared, and you want them to be comfortable sharing this information with you. Engage with your customers who have had returns. There's a lot of good examples out there where companies reach out to the people who return. I actually, one of my first jobs when I worked at Ghost, like when I had time in my free time, I actually had a list of all the customers who returned products to GNC, and I would go down the list one by one and call each of those customers. I think like 1 out of 10 customers would answer, but they would be so, I was terrified. It was a really, really good experience for me because it was very hard to talk to customers who have returned products. But the company, they wanted me to get the feedback up from these customers and ask them why they returned, what they didn't like about it, why was it did they want another flavor, did they want another product, did they not see the results that they wanted. I just listened to these customers, and they loved talking to the company. A lot of times they were like, wow, I've never had a company care so much to call me and get my feedback. And then at the end of the call, if they wanted to try the product again, I gave them a coupon code to shop on our online site. And then if they wanted to, I also sent them samples of different products. And actually at the end of this, part of the feedback that I had gathered, we actually ended up phasing out one of our flavors because it just wasn't the favorite of the customers, and it was going through that cost analysis. We decided to replace that flavor with another flavor that customers did really like. So there's a lot of you just can gather so much information from your customers who have returned. So don't ignore them, engage with them. And then create experiences that turn your returns into returning customers. Now, I don't really need to like dig into this too much, but we've said a bunch of examples of this. But just remember that a lot of these experiences that you might think that you're losing money from someone returning a product, if you have an exceptional experience, a lot of times you can create more sales from these returning customers. The win back part of this is create that list of people who didn't have a good experience for whatever reason. Have someone else reach out to them. Talk to your founder. Do they want to reach out to these customers, especially if they're like high LTV customers they've been shopping they've been shopping with you for years. Like, why did they all of a sudden stop purchasing from you? Was there a competitor? Was there a better product? Did they have a bad experience? Really dig into this stuff. So if you have any questions about anything that I went over, I'm happy to share more information, share more data, share more logs. I had a lot of fun sharing this. Again, like I said, if you liked this style of podcasting, let me know, because I will put more time and effort into creating things like this. Again, if you were just listening to this and want to see the resources, check it out on YouTube or Spotify. The videos are there. And don't forget to rate, comment, like, all those things. It really, really helps the podcast. Share it with a friend. Comment on all of the content because Jackie loves it. Jackie has been doing such a great job with all the editing and all the posting. She cracks me up. She goes above and beyond. So support her by engaging with the content. And I'll catch you in the next one. Bye, guys.